Hi guys, welcome back to the GoonerPod. Myself and Adam here, just to do a quick review on the weekend and a quick preview on Monday night's game. Adam, you good, bud?
Yeah, all good here. And you?
Good, good, good. Yeah, doing well, mate. Doing well. Um, Saturday, a little bit nervy at the end. What did you make of it overall?
I thought we started well. I think we dominated at least the first half. I think the goal was avoidable. But you got to remember it's the first game of the season, and we got the points, but I think we made it a lot harder than we needed to. Um, Martinelli was, I think, he was the best player on the pitch, along with Timber. Unfortunately, obviously Timber's injured now. And then Saka's goal. I think Saka played well. It was a brilliant goal. Um, but yeah, it was good. It was good to be back. The atmosphere was great. The fans were up for it. Um, yeah, not too bad. Not perfect, but far from the quality that we've seen from particularly from last season. But I think now the levels that high. Anything below that, we kind of look negatively at, which we probably shouldn't always do. But overall, yeah, it was all right. Not too bad. It was an all right game.
I thought it was a typical first game of the season, actually. Like, just lacked a little bit of rhythm. Um, although we was in complete control until Forest scored.
Mm.
Um, Couple of dangerous moments second half, but we didn't really get out of first gear, which was I
Yeah,
suppose you can take the positives out of that we got levels to move up, and we will have to obviously at some point in the season. But it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I don't believe in exerting all your energy in the first game of the season. If you look at last year, how City dealt with things, they got rolling, didn't they, just after Easter,
yeah, yeah,
um, and they was perceived as being off the pace early part of the season, but still were picking up wins. So if we're going to
mm,
do that and still got gears to move up, then we can
yeah,
take some satisfaction in that. It's like the scoreline flattered Forest. I think, like you know, the goal come on the break. Elanga's an Olympic sprinter.
yeah,
No one can get near him, and it was and fair play to him. You have to use your tools that you got in your arsenal. But apart from that, Forest didn't really threaten at all. It just looked more nervy than what it probably was.
yeah. And it was a
Um,
different like lineup as well, different formation, new players like playing together, and I think there was a lot of factors. Well, like you say, the main thing is getting the win, and even when the pressure was on, you've got to sometimes you've got to grind out those games, and it's those kind of teams, Forest, even Wolves, like especially away, Palace away. Obviously, we've got them coming up. Um, Everton, teams like that, they'll put that pressure on. I think it's all about the experience, isn't it? But if we couldn't see that like week in week out. But it's first game of the season. I'm not gonna read too much into it. We've got the 3 points on the board, and that's what matters. I thought Rice
yes,
was good as well. Even Havertz, I think Havertz, he made it. He used his physicality quite a lot and ended up, you know, giving fouls away. But I think the ref was a bit iffy. Don't really want to spend too much time blaming the refs, but I think some of them challenges were fair. Rice was unlucky not to score. I think he had two or three really good shots. You can see the positives there. The players are linking up. It's going to take time, but I think overall it wasn't. I think it's that standard, isn't it, that we've kind of set now, and the team have set the way that they can play. But that's not going to be week. Like you say, week in week out, we're going to drop off. We're not going to be able to be 150% all the time. But it was
did you think?
um,
Did you think the formation contributed to it?
I think so, because obviously when I was looking at the lineup, I was a bit well. Who's where really? I'm glad that Eddie got a start. I think he I think Arteta said that after the game that he trained like a beast.
Mm.
And he took his goal well as well. Um, he was. I think he was good last season when he came in for Jesus. I know he's always got pressure on him, and the fans seem to be like in comparison with Jesus. They don't really give him a chance, but I think he's scored like especially at home. He's got a good record at home. But I think like looking at the defense, it was a bit well, what's he actually doing? What's the intention here? And I think there was times where obviously Saliba without Gabriel, they usually complement each other quite well. And I think Saliba made a couple of mistakes as well in the first half where he gave the ball away, which wasn't like him. And I don't know if maybe that was because he didn't have the like the security knowing that Gabriel was there, and the same with like when Gabriel pushes Saliba or drop back. And they've got to obviously get used to the formation. I do think, even though it seems like a slight tweak, I think it does actually impact for what they've got used to. If you play one formation and it changes, then what you've got to do kind of changes as well. So I think we made a few mistakes and we were a little bit exposed, I think, at times. Obviously when you look at the pace that Forest have got, but he obviously knew what he was doing. He wants to try different things, and I guess when you bag the 3 points, it's paid off. So I'm not too concerned about the formation changing, but I think if you look at the quality, let's say, of the game, you can understand why, because he was playing it different. Like you say, we didn't get out of first gear either. And if we play like that in first gear, then what are we going to be? When we actually build up and the players are used to playing with each other, and he's got his starting 11, he's got his formation that he wants to play. So I think by like game 6, game 7, we'll start to have an idea of like who he picks and what formation he's going to play.
Do you think he'll play that way at Palace?
I don't think so. But then, like, if you look at Palace, they've obviously lost. They've lost some big players, haven't they? But they are still a dangerous team. Playing them away I don't think it's an easy game. But I don't think he would. I don't think he, unless he just sticks with it to see how it goes as like a second time. But I think it's a different team, a different game, isn't it? So I'd hope that he'd go with Gabriel and Saliba rather than like have Partey, Rice, and Havertz playing. But
do you think?
Okay.
Do you think
Go on.
Gabriel being dropped is more than just a tactical tweak? Do you think there's anything in the Saudi rumours?
No. I think even when he was linked last season, he was linked, wasn't he, with the move? And I think some fans were like, "Yeah, we can go." And this was obviously before we'd had like a great season. But no, I think he's committed to us. Obviously, we've got Champions League football, and the only other reason he'd want to move is simply for money. But I think Gabriel's got the mentality. You can tell that he wants to win. Like, you see the way he celebrates the goals, you see the way he celebrates the wins. And I think he's built that partnership with Saliba. I'd like to see him stay. I think it probably was just a tactical tweak just to see. We had our new signings, didn't we? All three of them started. Timber, Havertz, Rice at home. So I think it was tactical, but I guess we'll find out on Monday. If he's not playing again, then I might start to think it's more than that. But at the moment, I think it's just I think it was just a tactical tweak. What about you?
I was shocked to see him not playing. To be honest, I think we're a better side when he plays.
Yeah.
And he brings balance as well, being left-footed. So even if he wanted to switch the formation, I still would have had him there to play on the left.
Mm.
Arteta's hard to second guess, isn't he? You don't know what
Yeah,
he's thinking. You don't know what is going on. It just so happened that the day after, he's heavily linked with a move away, and now Madrid are sniffing round as well, apparently, because they've got
yeah,
injuries to their back line.
yeah.
And I just wonder if there's something in it. Arteta's took him out because his head might be right or something like that. I don't think it's as clear cut as all of a sudden we've changed shape. We didn't play with that shape at all in pre-season either.
No,
I
no, we
should add.
didn't.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's just as straightforward as we're taking him out of the team because it's a tactical
Mm.
tweak. Because we played that a couple of times at the back end last year, and Gabriel was in it. I know we didn't have weren't littered with options with Saliba being out, but he played on the left of the three,
Yeah,
um, and he's brilliant in the air in both boxes. He's a quick defender. He's aggressive. He can play out from the back. Like I say, he brings balance being left footed. I'm not sure I buy into it that he was dropped for tactical reasons. I think,
yeah.
um,
No, I'd like
say,
to think he'll stay anyway. Because I think they complement each other well. I think if Gabriel has a bad game, Saliba usually mops up, and the same as Saliba has a bad game, and Gabby usually mops up. So I think no, I'd like for him to stay because otherwise, then you've got not only have you got your midfield kind of needing to get used to each other, you've then got your defense, and it becomes a bit more. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we've got some great players that could, fill that gap, and that's a good thing about having so much, so many versatile players is they can shift around if we need to, and we're not really as short as if we lose, a centre half, we haven't got anybody because we've got players that can play at all, across the back four. But I think for what they built, obviously they built that partnership and they play well together. I'd like to see them, like, particularly in Europe and another season. But I guess you just don't know. You don't know what a player's thinking. You don't know what their ambitions are. What their thoughts are about.
well,
You know,
let's have it right. There's been some shock transfers to Saudi,
yeah,
which is why I'm not ruling it out.
yeah,
If and I don't want to sound horrible when I say this, but South Americans are more suspect to dropping the club they're in for wages because they'll play their "I'm looking after my family" card because a lot
yeah,
of them grow up in poverty and things
yeah,
like that. And I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but they're more likely to do it than
yeah,
an Englishman, for example,
yeah.
unless
I'll
you're
get what
Jordan,
you
unless you're Jordan Henderson and at the end of your career.
mean.
And
Sorry, that's the cat.
I think every single one of us originally thought that Saudi was going to be a retirement home, and now
Yeah,
they're actually taking players in their prime. And there's no reason that Gabriel couldn't be one of them. If they've offered him 800-900 grand a week, I
yeah,
think Arsenal got a big issue to deal with.
yeah. No, no, I completely get that. But
He's played.
I'd just like to hope that he wouldn't, that he
Yeah,
actually wanted to play in the the Champions League, and you never know. You never know what a player, like, say, what their ambitions are, what their intentions are. Do they want to win trophies, or they just want to earn like as much money as they can? And I think, not saying that all players that go to Saudi just want money, but there is some big players that are going over there. I mean, obviously Ronaldo went. I know he's older. I know he's kind of won everything that there is to win, but he's still a big player. Obviously Neymar's
Neymar's just
going.
gone in.
Mahrez did go, didn't he?
Mahrez went. Yeah,
Yeah, Mahrez went.
Fabinho, Henderson.
Yeah. So I mean,
They've they've
they're
signed
big
some top
players,
players.
and they'll only strengthen on that. They'll only sign more. Um,
Yeah,
but I think there is still a select few players that have rejected and said, no, actually, I still want to play in Europe. I still want to do, still want to win things. But I suppose you if a player makes their mind up at the end of the day, we'll replace them, and with the recruitment that the club have done, if we lose Gabby, it's not for me. It's not the end of the world. There'll be somebody ready to come in and take his place, and I don't think we have any trouble actually attracting top players anymore. And I think we've proven that in the windows that we've had. So
I
time
I
will
would
tell.
have I would have thought that the top target would be Mark Gay from Palace.
Yeah, no, I like him to be fair.
Yeah, I think wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if that happened. To be fair, but
No,
I'm a big fan of Gabriel, and I sung his praises last year, and I thought he was actually, although Saliba stole our hearts, Gabriel was our best defender last year.
mm. No, I
A
think he
couple
was.
of rash moments aside, but they all made them. He was solid. He was brilliant from start to finish in the season, and 74 games in a row he started for Arsenal
Yeah,
in the league. That's why it's not like he was injured. He was on the bench.
yeah,
So that's just a little bit dubious. But I trust the club with their recruitment. If they want to sell him because they're going to use the money to bring in a Mark Gay or someone like that, then
yeah.
so be it. But
I mean,
it
they'll
would,
have a plan, won't they? They'll have some kind of plan in place.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So
we
it'd be a
don't really
shame,
know.
but
Yeah, it won't be the end of the world. I think we're in a good position as a club, aren't we, in terms of attracting and also retaining,
mm,
our players.
yeah, no, I agree. So let's see how it plays out. But I just don't. I think there's a little bit more to it than just leaving him out for tactical reasons.
Yeah,
Um, Speaking of defenders, we had the news today. Julian Timber.
yeah,
Our worst fears are upon us. I haven't said too much on it because I'm just waiting to see the official confirmation from the club. I was kind of hoping he may have just strained his ligaments or something like that, but he is set to be out for 7 to 8 months, which
yeah.
will take us through to April, May next year.
Mm,
So he's arguably you'll say you won't see him again until pre-season.
no, and it's a shame because I think like watching him in pre-season, watching him um on Saturday as well. I think he was everywhere. He gets he's not afraid to put in a hefty tackle. And I think that's actually how he first got the injury, wasn't it? Is that he'd gone in. I can't remember which player it was now, but he'd put in the tackle, and then obviously they both went down. And then I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Because obviously they checked him over and they brought him back on, and then it was
Um,
long into the second half that he went down. Do you think they should have took him off at that point, or
I think everyone
wouldn't
would
have
always
made
say
it?
that because he got injured.
Hmm.
But Arsenal are littered with some of the best physios and sports doctors and sports
Hmm.
scientists and whatnot
Yeah,
um, in the game. So if they've all said he's good to continue,
yeah,
what more can you do?
yeah.
Otherwise you'd be if you had that approach, you'd be taking players off every time they went down,
Hmm.
and it's not the case, is it?
No,
It's 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, someone goes down injured and they play on and play the rest of the match.
yeah. I
It's
don't.
just
I don't
really
think.
really bad luck.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think. I don't think the. I don't think if they had taken him off, um,
It'd still be
well,
out.
it has still been out for some time anyway. But
Yeah.
I think it was just if you look at the way what happened and the way that he went, I think obviously it's contributed to it, but I don't actually think it was the be all and end all of it. So I think it'd have still been out for a little bit, but there's no saying it wouldn't have happened in the game on Monday because obviously he would have started because he'd have still had something. But if the physios, the doctors, everybody's saying that he's fine and he's saying it's fine, I think they've just linked it because it was a bit of a but he was holding his calf, wasn't he, at the first challenge, and then the second one, the ball coming to him, and then he just went down holding his knee. So
Mm.
probably not actually linked directly, but maybe it's like a little bit of a contribution. But it's just a shame we've lost him because he was looking really good. He
He
was looking
was,
really
yeah.
good.
And now I feel like we're back to square one where you're praying another injury doesn't come. Otherwise, Holding's back in the side.
Mm.
So, what would you do? Do you expect them to go into the transfer market now?
Well, there's been links that we're after Laporte, and also we've been linked again with Cancelo. But the links with Laporte are saying that City are unlikely to want to sell us another player. They don't want to sell us another player, which is understandable. But the links with Cancelo, I don't. I mean, he's going to be like at least 60 million. I just don't see that happening. But then when you look at what we've got Tavares. He can play on the left. We've got Tierney. We've got Zinchenko. I know Zinchenko's injured. I know Tierney's been linked with a move away. I don't think Tavares is going to be getting into the starting lineup. Obviously, Tomiyasu can play that side as well. I think even Kiwior can play left back, can't he, as well? So I don't think it's like a massive thing, but I do think we need to look at who's actually going to be there. I wouldn't really like to see Tierney go. I think he does a job, but he's not going to do the same job that Zinchenko does. He gives that bit more like flexibility, like you say, with the shape of the team and the formation. Whereas Tierney, I think he just does a job as a defender. And I know he gets forward and contributes, but I think is a good option to fall back on. Because like you say, I don't want to see Holding in the squad really and players like that. But it's not like an emergency situation where we've just brought him in as the main player and we've got nothing else there. But when you look at those names, obviously the only one that kind of stands out is Zinchenko. He's not going to be fit for the whole season. He's not at least going to be fit for 8 months because he keeps having these niggles as such and needs this time out to recover. So it's a difficult one because when I look at other areas in the squad, like obviously Saka, I think we've only really got Reece, haven't we, to come in for him. And I think if anything happens to Eddie, obviously we've got Havertz as well. But I think when you look at what we have actually got available at left back to come in and do a job, and then you look at other areas of the pitch that there's not that much cover there. I'm a bit conflicted. Really, because when Timber does come back, obviously you sign players on like 4 or 5 year contracts. If we don't sell some of the others, and you've got like 5 or 6 players then, and you can't play all of them, they're going to have to, you need competition, but you don't need that much competition. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But what do you think about it?
I think we've got the bodies in terms of numbers to deal with an injury. We don't have the quality.
Yeah.
Tavares is en route to Forest, I believe. They bid for him officially today, so he's out the door. I wouldn't play Cedric in a month of Sundays. I'd rather start with 10 men.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'll get a move at some point, or they'll pay him off.
Mm.
Holding, again, I'm in the same boat, same camp as Cedric. Got to get him out of the club.
Mm.
And clearly, whatever anyone may think of this, clearly Tierney is not part of the plans. So you've got to get rid of him as well. If those 4 leave, we are short on numbers again.
Yeah.
So we need to bring somebody in because Timber's out for the season. We're not going to be able to rely on him unless a miracle happens and he gets fit by February or something.
No, I think he's out for the season. If
he's out. So, and if it gets to the point where he's back in late April, May, you might as well just leave him out until pre-season anyway. There's no point risking it. We have to get a body in as it stands. I don't know where I have conflict in this is everyone says, about the left-hand side, but we're well stocked there. Actually, I'd go and get a right back.
Yeah.
Because Ben White would be the cover for Saliba.
Yeah.
And then you've obviously got Tomiyasu to fall back on the right-hand side. Got Zinchenko on the left. I'd argue we should probably keep Tierney, but If they're not going to play him, then get some money for him because we're not helping ourselves with his value at the moment, leaving him out of squads and things like that. Because no, we're not going to get good money from him the way we're going. But I think a right back is more. It's probably the cheapest thing to do because they're easier to come by than left backs at a high level, and we're just looking for a backup option. Unless you trust the kid like Raw Waters or something like that, or not Norton Cuffy, if we haven't loaned him out yet. I think he might have gone somewhere actually, but something like that. Or are they going to just persist with this formation and use Partey there? And I also forget that Declan Rice can play centre half as well.
Yeah.
I personally would go into the market and get a defender that can cover two positions, and then I think that on loan, not necessarily buy somebody. There's a loan market these days because of FFP rules and things like that. Clubs are often backed into a corner where they have to get people off the wage bill, and you could get a decent enough defender to come in and be on loan for the season. If you don't play him and you piss him off, so be it. He fucks off at the end of the year. We have to, and I think Edu and Arteta do put the club first in that sense now, rather than Wenger's attitude was he had the welfare of the player's career at heart, rather than what was best for Arsenal and things like that. They would happily do that for somebody. Someone just rots on the bench for a year and they're there for cover at best. That's what I would be doing now. I think we 100% need to bring somebody in to cover Timber.
Yeah, like you say, even if it's just a loan, obviously we've done that with Raya, and he was initially meant to be a permanent one, and obviously they've spoke with the club, they've worked something out that works for the club and for us. Obviously he signed the extension, hasn't he, which protects Brentford as well. And I think obviously building up relationships like that with clubs will only help us. In the future, we'll just as players on loan, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a marquee player, just somebody that's of the quality that we need and can play, like you say, versatile, can play in the different positions as and when we need them, because it's gonna be a long season.
I've got one to throw at you. I've got a name to throw at you. What do you think of this? Sergio Ramos. He's a free agent.
Well, he's a proven winner. I'd say why not? I mean, he's got the experience, hasn't he? He's got he's got the mentality. He's got that experience to bring. I'd say, why not? You kind of know what you get with him. Obviously, I know he's an older player, but I mean, look at Thiago Silva. He's like a well-oiled machine, isn't he? He just turns up. He's a top defender. So I know we look at our players, and because they're a young squad, you look at an older player thinking, but why not? Why not? I think I'd welcome that signing actually. And I mean, if we had money available, if we made money back, and we were going to go for a right back, I'd go for Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, I know he cost them a lot of money. I know he's probably not likely to leave, but I think in terms of one-on-ones as a defender, I think he's in terms of quality. I think he'd be brilliant for us, but again, it's not the kind of player to be sat on the bench either, is he?
I would go for if he's going to go for right back, Walker Peters from Southampton. I think he's a very, very good player, and he can play both sides.
Yeah,
and he's English, so that would help us with quotas.
Yeah,
he's pacey. I think. It's a sensible signing, Walker Peters. I think he was really good for Southampton. If you're looking just for a squad option.
Yeah. And probably like realistic as well, obviously. I think we've got to sell players now, haven't we, before we buy any anyway. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks, but I know Partey's been linked with a move away, and that's still a bit up in the air as well. And it's, I'm not really going to worry about it if it happens, but I still think like you say, there's been a lot of shock signings for, in Saudi. But I think I still think there's a lot of things that can happen. I don't think this is the final squad, to be honest. I still think we'll see a lot go out. We might see like one or maybe two with Timber's injury coming in.
I I was looking at something earlier. I think it's Romano said it. If Arsenal raise money, they'll be looking for a right winger.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit shocked considering his release cost of 35 million that we haven't gone after Michael Elise.
yeah. Oh, I think he's brilliant, and I like Eze as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what Chelsea are doing. I just each day they're breaking the record, they're getting somebody else, and I think, I mean, we'd said it on the last pod. Obviously, I said what I thought about the league, and I mean they're signing some big players, aren't they? But Elise, he's a player that I really rate. Works hard. He's got, he's a quality player. You put him in a bigger team, I think he'll only get better. But obviously, there's a reason why we haven't gone in for him. Is it that we don't have the money yet? Is it that he'd made his mind up? Like, you never know. You never know. But I do think. I mean, I was impressed with Reece when he come in last season, and he filled in for Saka, and he got a few goals and assists, and I think he'll do a job, and I'd like to actually see him get more game time. But if you bring
Well,
in another, right,
it's the reason they give him a contract.
yeah, I'd
It's
like to
not.
see him get more time. I do actually think, out of all the young players that the young players that haven't made the starting 11 yet, I do actually think Reece is the one that's kind of knocking on the door.
Mm.
Um, so maybe just keep him as the option to come in for Saka. He loves the club as well. You can see how passionate he is about the club. So if we bring in another right sided player, are we then just overlooking him?
Well, I think that's why it's not been a pressing issue this summer.
Yeah,
Uh, Certainly been other areas. And again, if there was a need and a want in the squad, it is now defensive cover.
yeah,
So even if they wanted to go after a right-sided player, I think that's probably been put to the back burner
yeah,
for bringing someone in the back because we were back to square one. Which ultimately last year, as good a season as we had, we were bad at the back. Notably after Saliba was injured, I grant you, but we did concede 48 Premier League goals or something like that, which is
yeah,
more than a goal a game, and that's poor for a team that was top for most of it. I think we could be better at the back, and with Timber we would have been because with Timber there, in my opinion, we've got 6 or 7 top class defenders.
yeah,
Now we're down to 6, and even then, Tommy Asu's not. He's not reliable in terms of an injury sense. Nor Sinchenko, as you already said. Saliba has already said he's not yet 100%, and
yeah.
there's no well, just sit this game out this season because it's not Europa League anymore; it's Champions League. So
No, it's Champions League, and that comes with a
yeah,
physicality as well, and a demand. You're not going to be playing against teams weaker than you. If you look at the teams that are going to be in the Champions League, they're the best of the best, and obviously you're going to be playing the weekend and Tuesday or Wednesday, and then again, and it's like it's that intensity that's going to be demanded of them, and we're going to need to change, like make changes across the squad. Um,
yeah.
but no, I think just like looking at the left back position, it's like we have got players there, but it's just if we could move some of them on and get some money back from them, and then replace them with the quality of player that we need, then obviously it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to have like 7 left backs, and them all just sitting there and not doing anything. Even if we have to loan players out, we're going to need to do something.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we're going to actually play a bit of transfer roulette. So I've got 8 players here that I think are the most likely to be sold, and we'll just go through them and give what value we think we'll get for them and see how much we can raise.
okay.
The first one's probably the biggest transfer fee we'll receive. Balogun.
Uh, I'd say 40 million, and I say that because Hoyland's just signed for X amount of money. I think it's in excess of 60 million to United. And Balogun was just having fun last season. He's a proven goal scorer. I know it's not the Premier League that he was in, but he was still in a league with the likes of Mbappe, keeping up with them in terms of like goals scored and stuff. So I'd say 40.
Yeah, I'm going with 45, just purely for the fact that we've rejected 40 already. But I actually think now we're becoming a little bit desperate to get rid of him, so we'll probably accept just a little bit more than 40. And 45 will include add-ons. I don't think that'll be a guaranteed fee.
Which is a good fee, really, for
it is,
for
and
and I think they'll probably put a buyback in as well, which wouldn't be bad business. So
he's at his highest value.
Yeah.
2 years left on his contract. Just had a great season. I know West Ham are potentially sniffing around him as well. That could drive the price up, to be fair, because they've got a bit more money than what Monaco can offer. But Monaco seem very keen and haven't been put off by their first bid being rejected. And I heard it was 40 million. So we'll see. And we should be commanding top money for these players. If we were looking to buy Balogun after a season like that in France, we'd be quoted 80. So
yeah,
we have to start getting top money for these players. And he's a sellable asset, and it's pure profit as well because he's from the academy. So that puts any FFP issues to bed because that's pure profit. Next one is Tavares. Hard to gauge this one.
I'd say about 25, 26. Because I don't think he's a bad player. And he showed glimpses of quality when he was playing for us. But I just think he just lacks a little bit of something. But I think in like another league, he could do well. So I'd say about 25, 26.
I think we'll be lucky to get 15.
Really? He's still quite young though, isn't he? And
he's young, but
he can play like attacking as well, like with the crossing and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, shots were always like he was playing rugby, but I don't know. I just think for the right team, but like I say, it's difficult. It's difficult to. But didn't we pay? How much did we pay for him?
7 or 8.
Oh, right, not that much.
I think the 15 is not based on his ability for me. I think he's a decent player. He fell out with the coach at Marseille, so he's not played for a while. He's not kicked a ball in pre-season, and Forest aren't going to splash big money on him, and they're the only club interested, and we need to get rid. So I think 15 million.
So it wouldn't be bad if we paid like less.
Yeah, and that we make money on him. And there might be a sell-on clause in there or something like that, but I think it's all right. It gets him off the wage bill and it gets some money in the door. And that we're at panic stations now because we haven't actually sold anyone apart from Matt Turner yet, which he wouldn't have been high up on my list to be sold. So it's in fact I didn't imagine at all at any point in this pre-season that Turner would be sold.
Yeah.
So we need to start doing some business. And I think in that case, our demands will be lower.
Yeah. Speaking
of lower, Holding.
I'd let him just go for free. I'll pick him up and take him wherever he's going. We'll have a nice little conversation about it. No, probably about 4 or 5. I think that'd be good for us, to be honest. But I think he just needs to. Nothing against him. It's just we're at a level now where we want to be challenging for the big trophies, and I don't want to see him after what happened at Spurs. I don't want to see him back on the pitch, not with the other quality that we've got. So I'd say about 4 or 5 for a team that needs that style of player. and it's money back into the pot, isn't it? So yeah, 4 or 5.
Well, I am sticking with him being a free transfer. I think Arsenal or loan,
Yeah,
I should say. Some of these will go out on loan, I think, but I'll just get rid of him. No one, there's absolutely zero interest in him, which is why I'm a little bit worried. I think he might end up staying at the club, not playing much of a part, but he'll be, he might hand out the bibs at training or something. Fucking,
do you do
but
you think with Mings getting injured, you think Villa could probably make a move for him? Because obviously Mings is going to be out for some time. I don't know that
Villa,
they had Chambers from us.
Villa have just been linked to a centre half.
Have
Um,
that.
oh, Maguire. Villa are linked to Maguire.
All right. Well, best
I
of the bad bunch then.
I don't see it happening though because they've just spent money on that Pau Torres,
Yeah.
and they've got Konza, they've got Douglas Carlos or whatever his name is, Diego Carlos or whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah,
centre half. Still got Chambers, so I don't
yeah, maybe.
see them going for. I mean that would be a last resort, wouldn't it, to try and take Holden off us? Um, yeah, I don't see it. But I mean,
No.
I might be wrong. It might be, we'll take one loan for the season, and I'm sure Arsenal will be happy to do that deal. But I think Holding being homegrown and English is really fucking like hanging on to his Arsenal career by a thread now.
Yeah.
It's kept him at the club for too long, and he's probably on a very nice 30 grand a week for
Yeah.
someone like me and you. It's low in terms of football terms, though, isn't it? And Arsenal probably don't see the benefit in just letting him go because
Mm.
he's not commanding a high salary, and um, he seems a likable chap. Everyone seems to like him, get on with him. So he's probably all right to have around. You just can't have him on that pitch.
Yeah.
Um, but like I say, I don't actually think we'll get any money for Holding if he leaves the club. I think they'll either come to an agreement with him or just loan him out. I'm sure he's got a 2 or 3 year contract, so it's not like
Yeah.
we'll loan him and he leaves for nothing next year. He'll be back in some
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah.
You'll probably answer this in the same way, but Cedric.
I think 3. I mean, we got him on a 3, didn't we? He's not going to get he's not going to get into the squad. Watched him in pre-season and he took a couple of corners, I think, and he was just,
Fucking terrible.
he was, yeah, shocking. I just think, these are the kind of players that we just need to, especially with what Arteta and, the club are doing in terms of mentality and building that. These are the kind of players that, they're not at the level and the quality that we need. So they're not, in terms of like experience and stuff, they're not adding anything because obviously they're not players that have won anything significant. So it's not like you're holding on to a player that can bring something in the dressing room even. So yeah, I think just let him go. He'll be an option for another team. Same with Holding, but I just don't see them. I think we're at a different stage now. We need a different profile of player, and they're just fringe players, aren't they? But I still can't see them starting above other players. I think Arteta will just put one of the other players into a different position and just deal with it like that. So I don't think they'll get much of a look in. So yeah, just let him go.
Yeah, I actually think we'll get a little bit of money for Cedric because there's a market for him abroad,
Mm.
unlike Holding. Um, I think someone from Portugal or lower end of Spain could pay us
Mm.
2 or 3 million for Cedric, and I think that would be a job well done from Arsenal. If they get any money for
Yeah.
him.
No, I mean anyone who can get from the players, but if you don't look like anybody's coming in, just send them on loan or just let them go. I know the wages might not be high, but it's still something, isn't it? So
Yeah, I think so. Oh, what a chance! So I was just watching the City game. Seville should have just made it 2-0. Um, I'm very torn on this one, but I can't see him kicking the ball for us this year. Pepe.
Oh, it's difficult. It's difficult because obviously we spent so much on him. And to be fair, I don't think he was. I don't think he was terrible. Like
No.
if we put Pepe in this team, would we see a different player or not?
I
Is
think
it
so. I think I'd
in
use him as Saka's backup for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, we bought him for a reason. We did buy him for a reason. I know he's not anywhere near Saka. He's not going to be starting over him, but like as a sub, I think he's still got qualities. So I'd either keep him as an option and just see how he gets on in a much improved squad, um, or at least try and get 25 for him. I think that would be obviously we're not going to get the 70 odd that we paid. But I don't know. I'd just like to see him. I'd actually like to see him play in this team and see how he does. But has he done something to upset Art? Obviously, you don't know. Has he had a falling out with Arteta? Is he not
Well,
willing to?
I have heard he's not even at the training ground, whereas all the other fringe players are,
Yeah,
which would suggest that he's been told to train on his own, stay away.
yeah. You
You're not
don't know
welcome
what
here.
you don't know what's happened. But if he's not going to play, just try and get as much as you can for him. But I don't think he's a terrible player. I think we will get something for him. And obviously, we're not going to get what we paid, but it don't make sense because he'll be on a high wage as well, won't he? So just
He's on 150 grand a week.
yeah, which is it's quite a lot, isn't it? Really, compared to some of the other players, and they're like starting regularly as well and actually contributing to the team.
It's 8 million a season.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd say 2025 or try and integrate him into the squad, but you don't know.
So I'm torn with this. I think we're holding out to see if we can get any Saudi interest because that would get a decent figure. I believe if he goes to Besiktas, like he's been heavily linked to, then we don't get any money from him. We just rip up the contract.
Yeah, but we still save obviously money on his
Save the
wage.
money per year, but he's not a terrible player. He didn't have a great season at Nice last year. I think it's just his career. He's just lost, isn't he? He was the big money
Yeah.
signing, come to Arsenal. He was supposed to be the saving grace for us, and it just didn't work out. And it's not his fault, but because he doesn't control the price tag. But I actually
No,
think Pepper.
we as fans saw that we spent 70 odd million, and we're like, right, we're getting a real player here, and he just didn't. I mean,
No.
the squad was shocking. If we're being honest, we had Lacazette, Aubameyang, Saka, and he was average of an average bunch. So he didn't really take us where we kind of expected him to take us. I remember when we signed Pepe, we were being compared with Salah, Mane, and I think it was
ridiculous,
Firmino at the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was actually ridiculous.
and it wasn't it just didn't live up to it. So yeah, I mean, get as much as we can for him, get him off the wage bill, or try and integrate him into the squad.
Next one. Again, this one's almost impossible to gauge, but Lakonga.
Uh, I'd loan him out. But I think when we were having conversations about him last season, we've added a lot more quality into the team since then, and I just don't see him getting a look in. But I don't think he'd be a bad signing for like a lower league team. Premier League, I still think he's young enough to kind of adapt and progress. But I'd say about 10, 12, because he's young, isn't he? So he can like make a player out of him, I guess. But yeah, I'd say 10, 12, or just send him out on loan.
I'm going with a loan spell. I can't. I think it might be a loan with an obligation to buy. Someone like Burnley, if
Yeah,
they might have a clause if they survive, they have to pay 20 million, something like that. Because actually, when he played at Palace last year, he played all right, and then they sacked Vieira, and Hodgson didn't pick him. He went to what he trusted. So
yeah,
I feel like if Vieira hadn't been sacked from Palace, Lokonga would have been sold already because they would have bought him because he was playing
yeah,
every week and playing reasonably well. And he's a tidy footballer. I
yeah.
just don't think he has the aggression and application needed for England. But he is young. He might develop that. But
Mm,
I think he'll go on loan somewhere with an obligation to buy.
yeah.
Is my thing. Next one. Again, it's hard to pinpoint his value, what we've been doing with him over pre-season. But Tierney,
Um, I'd say about 25 for Tierney. Um, and I just think he does he'll do a job. He will give everything, and for the right team that'll play him, as a defender. Um, and obviously he's won things before he came to us. And I think he came to us for about 25, wasn't it? But if a team like Man City are sniffing around him, they obviously see something in him as well. But I don't think he's a bad player. And if he didn't stay, I do think we'd be able to get a decent fee for him. But I wouldn't be against him staying, particularly for the cup games, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. I think he is a quality option for games like that. And somebody to come on to run, see a game out like we used to do with Holding, just bring him on. Well, I think 25. I think 25 would be a good amount for him that we could reinvest in for a replacement in that position. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because I know obviously he's been injured a few times as well. But I'd say about 20, 25.
so I'm not convinced that we'll sell him just because of the Timber injury.
Yeah.
But if we do, I think we'll get 30 million for him.
Hmm.
He's a Scottish international. He's got a decent contract length left, so he's got high value on it and Premier League proven. He just doesn't. It's not a problem with his quality as such. It's just the type of player he is doesn't suit
Yeah.
what we want. So he'd be perfect for Newcastle, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And West Ham have been sniffing around him as well. So, and they both got money, so I think we can get 30 for him. And that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for all parties
No.
if he goes. We've got two more. This one should be fairly straightforward. Runnison. I mean, I can't believe he's still at the club. I mean, it baffles me. But
Um.
I'm just going to interrupt quickly and say that he will leave on a free transfer, in my opinion. We'll
Yeah.
just get rid of him.
No, I
No one's
think
no one's paying money for that.
no. It's the same. I think just these are players just aren't going to get anywhere near any game time with us. So it's pointless like keeping them around. So yeah, just get rid.
Get rid. And the last one,
Oh,
it's a little bit
get rid.
get rid. Um, yeah, last one. It's a little bit. I'm not convinced we'll sell him, but I have seen him linked to a move away this week, and I don't see where he gets any game time if he stays. Is El Neni?
Um, I don't see where we'll get the game time unless it's in cup games. But thinking back to last season, um, he came in and he was all right, wasn't he? And then I think he got injured, didn't he? Did he get in? Was it the Wolves game he got injured?
Um, no idea to be honest, but
I
I
think
tell you what, he's always a 6 out of 10. He doesn't ever let you down, but he's just not spectacular either, is he?
no, but I think if anything happened to Party, obviously we don't have. Obviously, without Xhaka, we've got a replacement in for him, and technically, well, I'm guessing Havertz going to play that role. And obviously, you've got Rice as well. But
And Jorginho.
yeah, Jorginho. But then if Party goes, because obviously he is linked with a move, then at least you've got an experienced player there that's played under Arteta, who he obviously trusts because he brings him in, and he's not the worst. It's not like bringing somebody completely fresh in. Um, but I'd say if we were getting rid of him, I think we could get 6, 7 for him, and that's just because of his like injury record. But I think I like him. I do like him, and I think he's an option for the games where you don't want to be playing Rice and you don't want to be playing Party. And I think he gives you. I think he is solid. I think he works hard. Um, I think he's a likable person as well. Um, so I don't know. I'm conflicted on that one. If like they actually would want us to sell him, but he always says he's happy to stay and he wants to play. But it's really difficult, that one. Whereas if Shaka was still here, I'd be saying something completely different. But and obviously we've got Jorginho as well. It's difficult. That one's actually the most difficult out of all of them.
Would you rather keep El Neni or Lokonga?
El Neni. El Neni, because he's got the experience. I'd rather see El Neni on the team sheet than I would Lokonga. And that's nothing against Lokonga. I just don't think we just haven't got the time where we are to give players time. We need those players that can come in and just, gel straight away. Lokonga would be a player that I'd like to be seeing in the cup games. He wouldn't come on as a sub in the league, but El Neni would, like if it came to that. So yeah, I'd much rather keep El Neni.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think I'll probably agree with that. To be fair, he's not a bad player, but he's not title winning
Yeah,
material
we
either.
just can't give him the minutes that he needs, because if you give him minutes and he makes a mistake, and I'm not saying he would make the mistake just because he's the inexperienced player, but it's a risk, isn't it? And I think we're past taking risks. Arteta's building this team, and the club are investing in this team to take to the next level. And if you put in players like Lokonga in there, it kind of, for me, that's a step back than a step forward. If you put El Neni in, it's not exactly a step forward, but I don't think it takes you backwards. I think he's experienced, and he just gives you that little bit more. I think I'd like to say I'd have more confidence in seeing him on the team sheet than I would Lokonga. But that's not saying that Lokonga can't get to that level, because obviously he's much younger. But yeah, that's actually the most difficult. I'm probably going to be thinking about that for the rest of the night now. But I do like him. I do like him as well. So probably a bit of bias in there as well.
Yeah, well, we all have that sort of tendency, don't we, to be a little bit biased at times. So with your total would come to 102 million for player sales.
Sounds
If
good.
it went to plan, and mine is 96, so not a lot in it.
Yeah, it's not. It's still a good amount for players that aren't playing, isn't it? So
Yeah, the
um,
main difference was holding.
hmm.
But yeah, it was fairly similar on both, isn't it? There's no reason you couldn't get rid of those players, but um, I'd expect maybe a couple of them to go out on loan rather than getting transfer fees. To be fair,
Yeah.
but we
Now
do
obviously you've
need
got the
to get
wages
some money
slot
through the
on
door.
top as well for those players. So it's obviously 8 million with Pepe as well. So there's extra to like be made and saved, I guess. Well, I read earlier today that Arsenal are going to make 100 million in match revenue from the Champions League. That's what they're estimating. Which again, that's a hefty amount of money. I think there's going to be a lot of demand actually for uh, the Champions League games, even though obviously they're midweek games. So I think the club are in a good place financially, and get rid of some of these players, and we'll have a bit more to work with maybe for January if we don't do anything significant in the next few weeks. But there's definitely money to be made on these players. They're not terrible. They're just not Arsenal level, are they? Like, where we are now.
Well, that's testament to our rise, isn't it? Really, that some of these players were in and around the first team week in, week out, and in such a short space of time, they're deemed to surplus to requirements a little bit. But
Yeah,
you're probably the same as me and every other Arsenal fan. You wish all of these players the best,
yeah.
except when they play against us. And you have to part ways, and that's just football's become a business now, where these players just seem to think, oh, like Maguire, didn't even answer West Ham's offer apparently because he feels like he's good enough to play for United. Well, how much?
Yeah,
How many more? How many more hints do you need?
Yeah, he's not going to play for. Yeah, I mean, he
And
brought
basically,
Lindelof on, didn't he, Monday?
yeah,
He's not going to get a sniff.
and it boils down to money. He's on
Mm.
200 whatever grand a week at United, and he don't want to walk away from it. He'd rather sit on the bench.
Mm.
But then be honest enough to say that then, if that's your decision.
Yeah.
You
don't leave a club that's actually interested in you like hanging. It's doesn't really look good for him, does it?
No, not at all. Yeah, he's come across a bit of a twat. If it's true, I don't want
Yeah.
to put him down if it's not. But
I don't know
it's
if
just
it's or not. But I mean, if it wasn't, he probably. Why would West Ham walk away if it wasn't on the player's side? But obviously not going to read too much into it. But I mean, 30 million, I think, is quite a lot. I mean, you look at Tierney, you look at Maguire. I know Maguire costs more anyway. And obviously he's English, but I'd much rather. I know they're in a different positions, but I'd much rather have Tierney in the team. It's the same, same level of same amount of money.
yeah, definitely, yeah. It's ridiculous from him really, but there we go.
Mm.
Right, I think that's everything, mate. Unless you've got anything you need to add on.
No, I was just going to mention the games over the weekend. Obviously, some good games. Newcastle and Villa. That was a shock actually that Newcastle won in the way that they did. And I thought Wolves were very unlucky against United. And I know it's first game of the season and everything, and you can't really read too much into it. But I thought Wolves, considering all the players that they've lost, they surprised me a little bit. It was a good game. It's a good game actually. I think everybody expected United at home to absolutely steamroll them, but I think that kind of sets the tone for the Premier League this season. Is the teams that you expect to win aren't always going to win, and I mean it's always been the same in the Premier League. But I just think there's going to be a lot of shock results this season. So hopefully we can get it done on Monday.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Monday's going to be tough, but yeah, the weekend's football was half enjoyable. To be fair, I watched both games Sunday, and they were both entertaining games.
Yeah,
I watched the Man United Wolves game with a couple of mates, and we were all expecting a comfortable Man United win, and it was anything but. And I thought, like you say, Wolves, I think, are on F1's hit list for relegation this year, or because of the turmoil they're in. But they've got half decent starting lineup, and if they can keep the players fit, they'll be all right. They'll be mid-table. Gary O'Neill's do a good job there, I think.
Yeah, just need to start putting the ball in the back of the net. That's the only thing they.
Oh, don't they just fucking?
I thought Neto looked really good actually. I know we were linked with him last season, I believe, last summer. And I think they quoted 50 million. But I thought he was brilliant. Unlucky not to score. Yeah, be interesting. Be interesting. 'Cause, like with the players that they've lost, obviously that's one of the local teams, and my friend supports them. So, he supports them and United. Actually, so it's probably a bit of a weird match for him to watch, whichever way he went. I think he favoured United really. So they've got more chance of actually winning. With it meaning something towards the end of the season, those points. But Yeah, I mean they've lost some big players, and I thought they did quite well. Villa was a bit of a shock. I expected it to be much closer than it was, but it just shows you most teams, and Brighton as well. Most teams picking up kind of where they left off, and I think it's going to be a real tricky season this season. But yeah, I just can't wait for the weekend now. More football, and then obviously us on Monday. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, mate. I really enjoy Monday night games, to be fair. So
Yeah,
gives you something to look forward to. No one likes being back to work on a Monday, but at least you've got something to
yeah,
look forward to in the
yeah,
evening.
exactly. Even better when it's your
Uh,
team as well.
exactly that, mate. Yeah, I
Yeah,
always get together with a couple of mates on a Monday and watch whoever's playing. So it's yeah, that's another reason to look forward to it as well.
yeah.
Right, we'll call it there then, shall we, bud?